Hey English teachers, so this week let's talk about grammar and how we can fit it into our program, and part of that is kind of reframing our ideas about grammar. So let's go. Let's get straight into the reframing side of things. Thinking about grammar from a positive point of view. So firstly, enjoy the fact that you can teach a little bit of grammar, a little aspect of grammar on the fly. Just bite-sized chunks lessons, good for you and good for the students, not too onerous. You can whack something up on the board and sort it. So that's one reason that I like it. The other thing is there's actually a visual aspect of it. Don't go thinking you sort of bogged down in like a Dickens book or something, that old-fashioned grammar book. You can make it visual. So one of the things I love, of course, is the annotation side of it. So you can write a sentence and you can color code the parts of speech, and you can circle and you can arrow and things like that. So I love that side of things. The other thing is I love putting little thumbnails in there. Just, you've got a sentence about riding a bike, so a little stick figure of a person on a bike. It's amazing how little things like that do make a difference. I also like the fact that you can make up equations with it. So S plus V equals C. So subject plus verb equals complete sentence or clause. In fact, in my last video, I think I said teach the students to look for the verb first. So V plus S equals C, whatever. And the other thing is, I think you can keep it feeling manageable if you have your little reference book beside you. So gather lots of bits of information from the net, from textbooks, that kind of thing. Find examples, get it all together so you've got your go-to book there. And the other thing that I like is having my list of, okay, these are all the things about grammar that I want to teach. Yep, I've done that with year 10, I've done that with year 9, tick it off, tick it off, tick it off, because I love ticking lists. Bit of psychobabble as well. Think of grammar not as an add-on, an extra thing that you have to do, but as the base, the root of your subject. And I think, that's a really good reframe. The other thing is that classic, I don't know who invented this, but instead of saying, I have to teach some grammar today or this week, we have to do some grammar, you say, I get to do some grammar. So as I say, that's not me, that's some psychologist invented that, but yeah, I get to teach grammar today, and suddenly it's great fun. So, well, great fun, but it makes a difference. So reframe grammar. So as I just said with the discussion about reframing, part of that is having everything set down in front of you, and for me that was creating a list. These are all the things I want to teach about parts of speech. These are all the things I want to teach about punctuation, because I lump punctuation in with my grammar. These are all the things that I want to teach about, I don't know, common errors or something. So I have that as a list, and I tick them off as I work through them with my classes, because I do teach grammar explicitly, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And so along with that list is my, as I said before, my little go-to book that I've compiled from the internet, from old-fashioned exercise textbooks and things, and I've put all of the aspects of grammar together with examples, because I need those to help me understand some of the grammar points, and also to give to the students, because if I'm teaching on the fly, then I don't want to have to be thinking of examples, or I don't want to think of examples that are actually incorrect. So I've got those all to hand, so happy days. So that can make a big difference if it's all there for you. Boom, done. It's not just flying around, oh my god, I'm going to teach something about grammar. It's all there, so do that. Rightio, the next thing is use exercise books. So I said that I teach grammar explicitly, and I do, and I like to have 2 exercise books, as we did like from 20 years ago. One of them is for my literature studies, topic studies, and the other book students use for grammar literacy activities. And I actually get them to write down the notes, the date, underline, red pen and a ruler, and then they do the heading. So apostrophes show ownership, or a lot is 2 words, whatever, underline it. And so then then we write notes from the board and we have a bit of a discussion. Then that is there as reference for them, and we use that later on when I say, hey, just let's have a look at what you've done here. Do you remember? Have a look in your book. What did we write about it? How do you do that? So they're understanding better how to use their exercise books as well as learning about grammar. So get back to those exercise books. Notes on their laptops do not work. Just saying. Right, explicit teaching. Yes, I believe that grammar needs to be taught explicitly. Yes, I keep spitting everywhere every time I get passionate about everything. Yes, there is argument for context, and I'll talk about that later, but I also think you need the little lessons where you teach it explicitly, like this is a thing, students. So there are 3 ways that I quite like to do this, and one is lesson starters. I'm pretty rubbish at keeping lesson starters short, and I end up thinking, oh my god, half the period's gone. But so that's something that you do need to work on, I think, how to keep it lesson starters short, but that's a whole nother thing. But lesson starters, the other thing is mini lessons. So in the first half of every Friday, first half of the period, every Friday, we do a mini lesson in some aspect of grammar. So for example, in our the 4 types of nouns or whatever. The other thing is you can put in a little random grammar question into worksheets about other things, and so one of the example I put in my blog is you might be teaching about setting in your short story or in your novel study, and you say, okay, write a compound sentence about how the character feels about the setting or whatever, and underline your verbs and highlight your conjunction, and look back in your books, kids, about what those conjunctions could be, like that kind of thing, the fanboys. So that is a really good way. So lesson starters, mini lessons, and just slotting a wee activity into sheets, worksheets, and other areas of study. Once I have taught a grammar point, of course, I take it off on the list, my list for that class, so I know where I'm at, because it's terrible getting to the end of the year and think, she didn't cover, the 4 types of nouns, or she didn't really cover the apostrophes. And I know that you might think, that should be taught at primary school, at intermediate school, in year 9 and year 10. You have to teach it every year, because you have to, one of those reasons is because you have to show them every year that this stuff is important to get right, because it's about making good impressions. God, I'm sounding old-fashioned. I don't care. Right, I give equal weighting to teaching grammar explicitly and implicitly in context. I know a lot of people put the weight in the context thing, but I think they both have equal merit. So teaching in context, again, as you know, I'm into my exercise books. As the students are working, I am running around the room and I am looking at their work. Hang on a minute, read that sentence aloud to me. Oh, a lot. I see. How do you spell a lot? One word. Okay, do you remember we've discussed that? Or maybe I've noticed a few kids doing it. So hang on a minute, back up the bus. Let's all stop for a minute. Tell us about a lot. Do we say a few, a bit in one word? No, we don't. Let's write it down. So we write a note on the board, and it goes into our exercise book. So it's about catching them when they're hot. So there's 2 sides to that. So marking, discussing with the student at the time in class, or obviously you can mark this later. And it's about, hang on a minute, I see a lot of you are having trouble with this. Let's do a little quick grammar lesson, 5 minutes. I say that, nothing's ever 5 minutes with me. Okay, so that's that, catching them while they're hot. Another thing, I've talked about attainment goal tests before. It sounds like a fancy word for a hideous test, but it's not. It's just a fun test. So you give students a bit of paper with 10 15, 20 questions on it. You go through it with the class and they're all writing in the answers. That's fine. They take it away and they spend a week learning it. Then they come back to class the following week and they sit that test. Obviously, you're going to give out new sheets. And the idea is they get 80%. Now, the beauty of this is they are rote learning their grammar. So they're forced to learn it. And the other thing is, you know, the kid that never gets anywhere in any class suddenly gets 95% in a test. Give them the little slips to say, to take home, to say, you know, Billy Bob got 95% in an English test today. And it's just gold. Like, boom. Yeah, so they're learning English, they're feeling confident, you get to be the favourite subject. Win-win. All right, so attainment gold tests, and there is another blog and video about that somewhere. I'll link it below. Now, speaking of, because that is kind of fun, a couple of other fun things that I quite like doing is when you get students to catch each other out and maybe even catch teachers out as well. So, you know, I don't know about you, but everything I know about grammar pretty much I learned from my mum nagging me. You know, it looks like it's going to rain, Mum. It doesn't look like it's going to rain. It looks as though it's going to rain. So, you know, it was all about that. So, nagging can be good. So, get students to catch each other out. Get them to catch you out. Get them to catch other teachers out. And when they do, you know, I don't know, put a sticker somewhere. And then maybe at the end of the week or end of the term, probably a bit more manageable. The person that's had the most catch outs, assuming they've got it right, of course, wins a bar of chocolate or something like that, or a free period, whatever. And in keeping with that kind of thing, what about catching out pop culture or the media? So how often do you hear, and I doubt that the kids will watch the news, but never mind, when I watch the news, I cringe nightly because journalists, who are supposed to know everything about English, I thought, and supposed to be good writers, they always say the amount of people at the concert, a large amount of people were injured. What the heck? It's a number. What's the other thing they do? The group are, the audience are, the group is singular. So if they can catch things out like that, my pet hate is when I generally am in the car and that Bene song comes on and I can't remember what it is, but she says repeatedly, hence why, hence why, hence why. So if you can have students listening out for grammar, that's great, that's gold. Then they write it down on a piece of paper, right? Put their name on the other side of the paper, stick it in a shoebox in class, and then have a drawer at the end of each week or term again. So a couple of little fun kind of challenges there that can make grammar fun, and it's really cool if they can catch other teachers out too, because remember, we write what we speak. We need to speak well. Just saying. Two things we all often resort to sort of cram some grammar things in those nuts and bolts activities are digital platforms and homework. So both of these digital platforms here in New Zealand, there's a couple that we use all the time, and they and homework are fantastic, but I think sometimes we think, okay, so we've set that activity, that's it, that's nouns taught, or that's apostrophes taught, or whatever, but so there's not that explicit teaching there. So when it comes to those two things, think of them as reinforcement for what you have explicitly taught. So they are reinforcement, they provide opportunities for your students to practice what they've learned, or perhaps they offer opportunities to have a play around with something you have yet to teach. So it's a bit of a precursor and introduction, and that can be a good thing too. So yeah, don't go thinking, okay, I've set that for homework or on that digital platform, and so that's my grammar covered for the year, because it's kind of not. It's reinforcement, it's practice, and they are fantastic for that. But I think I still put a lot of weight in that explicit teaching and ticking it off that I've done that, because there is nothing worse than a kid coming out of your classroom and saying, oh, we were never taught apostrophes, because as I said before, you do have to teach them every year, all year, every year, all of those things. So yeah, just my 2 cents worth there. Hopefully you've got a few things there to think about. You've had a minute to maybe get some ideas and think about how you're going to fit grammar into your program next term or next year. Anyway, I'll link the blog below. Enjoy.